Commissioner Vayu, please lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioners George Salgin,
Present.
Deborah Van Issen, David Collins,
Here.
Steve Stevenson, Jeff Vayu, and Stephen Verber.
Very good. At this point, we open up the meeting for anyone that would like to address the commission on an issue that is not before us tonight. So if there's anybody that would like to speak, please take the stand here. And this is on an issue that is not before us this evening, so it's not related to the tennis courts. Okay, so if somebody would like to address us, step up to the microphone here. Please state your name and your address, and then begin.
My name is Glenn Mark. I live at 976 South Muller Road. And what I want to bring forward is I'm with a group of pickleball players, and I see today's agenda is discussing the new tennis courts over at Michelin, and we're real happy for that. But we haven't heard anything what's going to happen with the old tennis pickleball courts. What's the plan for it? Can we have any kind of a opinion on what needs to be done? We just kind of in a fog.
Okay, so your question is just, you're talking about the community center?
Yes.
And what may happen over there at some point?
Yeah, what is the plan for that, those courts there? The courts are really bad shape right now. I guess you probably know that. We basically have just one good pickleball court out of 4, and then we share it out with the tennis people now, which is fine. But we're just kind of wondering when we'll be able to expect some work on it, or what's going to happen, what we could expect.
That is not before us this evening, and I don't know that anybody has any ideas. Maybe I can present that to Ken, but we'll take that in. It's not something we can really address tonight.
Okay, I understand that.
But something we can,
How do we
bring
move?
up.
How do
City
you
council meeting would be your best bet for that.
So we just keep coming to city council meetings? Oh, this is a planning meeting.
Yes, this is a planning commission meeting. So do exactly what you've done tonight at a city council meeting, and they can more aptly address that for you.
Actually, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would have him reach out to Kai Stevens, the recreation director.
Okay.
He can give you a lot of the information that you're asking for.
Okay,
There you go.
so I
Thank you,
just
Ken.
go to Kai Stevens first. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue DeRonca, and I'm at 500 Meadowland Drive. And so a couple things. So one, I've been in touch with Kai Stevens. I've talked to the council members, and actually we were recommended to come here. So we're kind of getting this whole runaround. For me, I've been playing for about 18 months, and we were told that there was money to do the resurfacing down there and the repainting. And I've inquired over time for probably the last 9 to 12 months. And we keep being told that there's funding for that and that needs to go to bid. But my understanding, and that's what I'm here asking, is because we were again told to come here first. So we thought it was going to bid like 6 months ago. Back in October, we were told that it was, and then it kept getting delayed. So that's so for me, I still don't understand. Is it out to bid or not to bid? And like I said, so I've talked to Kai, I've offered up, myself if they're doing like a committee or input for it, because we heard there was plans to add some maybe next to the tennis courts and keep it how it is now, just resurfacing and repainting. That was what the bid was for. They talked about maybe doing some upgrading of the light, the actual light in the light fixtures. And again, I'm happy for the tennis. We're all on board for that. But we're just curious because I don't want to know if you want specifics, but like for instance, how it's 2 sides, like doing one side is dedicated pickleball now that there's going to be more tennis eventually. And I know RC is building their own courts too. So we've been talking to different people, or I personally have. And we're just curious because Down there, there's 4 courts, and sometimes we have up 3 and 4 nets on all of those courts, and we're still having people wait for us. There's a lot of people that are going outside of Ripon to Modesto because they have dedicated courts there, and we are grateful that we have them here to play in. We personally, I go to Modesto too, but it is very nice to play here at least a couple times a week, just right here in our own backyard. So again, I'm willing to help out or get input from more people. There's about 60 of us we are in this Ripon Pickleball Club, and it's just not a loose league club. We just have a WhatsApp with everybody's name on it so we can tell them when we're coming out to play. So, and I just wasn't sure, same thing I said to the city council, to Kai and to you. I'm not sure because no one's asked any of us like for input or come to talk to any of us when we're down there. And when I've reached out, they're kind of like, oh, it's going to be moving forward, or talk to the planning commission now. That's why we're here.
Yeah,
When we saw the
it's not
tennis
an
was
issue that
moving
is
forward.
before us at this point. You know, we deal
Yeah.
with items that come before us and have to make decisions based on the findings of our planning department for a particular project or issue that is before us. So we wouldn't really be able to give you any
So
feedback or
who
information
moves-
on this at this point. I think,
Mhm.
Ken, go ahead.
So I can give you a little bit of direction on it. So Kai Stevens would be definitely the
Mhm.
one to reach out to.
Talked to
A
him numerous
decision like that,
times.
a decision like that would be, since it's a rehab project, it wouldn't come before the planning commission. It would be just at staff level. The
Mhm.
Recreation Commission probably is gonna weigh in on it. They do have
Mhm.
Recreation Commission meetings, which is
Mhm.
ran, so you might check with Kai on when the next one is for that. And
Okay.
maybe it's something they would get on their agenda so they can discuss.
So would Kai and staff decide to put it out to bid then? Those just within house, city council wouldn't have anything to do with it either?
Correct. They've already got the funding for it, and
That's what my
they
understanding
need to get
is.
it out to bid for that, so the engineering's working on that, but
Mhm.
Kai would have all those specifics.
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple
Do you
times
know how
too.
often they meet, Ken?
I don't know how often they meet. Jane, do you know?
It's usually the Wednesday after a city council meeting.
Wednesday after one of the meetings?
Yes, that's the
So
recreation.
once a month or twice a month? Like the city?
Once a month.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're supposed to meet every month. They don't always have enough
Okay.
business to meet every month.
Okay. Okay. I'll get
So
in touch
check
with
the city calendar on that.
I do get the nixles, but I have never seen one for recreation.
Okay.
Yeah. I see it for the planning, I see it for the city council. Never
Yeah.
seen one for recreation.
Sorry, we can't help you, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
thanks
it's
for
just,
voicing
we're
your
trying,
concern.
again, just to spread the word, because we've been told for months that there's money and it just needs to go out to bid. But like everybody keeps, unfortunately, we keep getting told that it's the next person. So just
Yeah.
trying another avenue to get answers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate the great input. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on something that's not on our agenda this evening? Okay. That being handled, let's turn to the minutes from last month. Did everyone have a chance to review those? Do we have comments or a motion that someone would like to make at this point? Jeff, okay, great, perfect. Thank you. They are adopted. At this point, we will move into a discussion item, and the way that this will go is that Director Zeidevart will he will present the item to be discussed this evening, and at that after he has done his work, then we'll have a little back and forth. But then we'll ask the applicant to take the podium and give testimony to the commission. Anybody that's in favor of that can then make testimony as well. Those in opposition will have an opportunity to speak, and then the applicant would have an opportunity for rebuttal. After that point, we'd close the public hearing, and then the commission will have further discussion, and we will take a vote at that point. If you have an objection to our ruling, you can make an appeal. And if you would like to, there's a formal process for that. If you'd like to do so, you can approach me or Ken after the meeting. We'll go from there. Just make sure that you've signed in at the back if you're interested in doing so. That being said, Mr. Zeidevart, would you please introduce the subject matter?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. The request tonight is for a site plan permit to construct a 12-court tennis complex at the Midland Sports Park. located at 1210 East Clinton South Avenue. It's up on the screen there, the red box up on the top. It is located in the public, semi-public district on approximately 5.63 acres. It is kind of the northern end of the Missland Sports Park. The project is anticipated, if you want to go ahead and switch, Alex, to the next one. The project is anticipated to be constructed in multiple phases. Phase 1 is anticipated to include 6 initial tennis courts with associated lights and fencing located towards the southeast area of the site. It's kind of a little hard to see, but it is the blue dotted lined area there. There's a driveway that's on the western end that would come off of Clinton South, connecting to a couple access roads leading to the existing parking that's already out there by the baseball diamonds, and then the 6 actual tennis courts. Phase 2 is anticipated to include the remaining 6 tennis courts with associated lights and fencing, restroom facility, and a 194 stall parking lot with lighting. As part of the project, all existing structures on the site will be demolished. If you've been out to look at the site, you'll notice there's an old house and old Holler building and barn that's all kind of boarded up. That'll be demolished as part of the project. The project will ultimately consist of 12 tennis courts. Like I said, 6 of them would be in phase 1. They are located, the 6 initial courts are located on the southeastern area of the site, approximately 10 feet from the eastern property line, which is an orchard, existing orchard there, and about 102 feet from Clinton South Avenue. So sitting quite a ways back. The parking lot will be between the courts, anticipated courts, and Clinton South Road. All the courts will be fenced with 8-foot black vinyl coated fencing, chain link fencing. The courts will also contain tennis court lighting and single and double-sided benches. There's no detail on court lighting at this point, but typically tennis court lighting is about 18 to 20 feet in height. And it will be required to be shielded so that no glare will affect adjacent land uses. The condition of approval has been added to ensure that tennis court lighting will be limited to no later than 10 p.m., which is currently the tennis courts we have now, and no earlier than 6 a.m. in the morning. Parking, phase 1 of the project does not contain any additional parking lots at this time. However, they anticipate using the parking lot that's already adjacent to the larger baseball fields that are out there. Phase 2 of the project will include the installation of the final 6 tennis courts with an installation of a 194 stall parking lot adjacent to Clinton South Avenue. The parking lot is meant to serve not only the new complete tennis complex, but also as an overflow parking to Missland Sports Park for when other events are taking place. All parking stalls are anticipated to be full-size parking spaces, which for the city of Ripon is 10 by 19 in size, a little bit wider than most other communities around us. The parking lot is also anticipated to contain landscaping and parking lot lighting. There's no detail as to the lighting plans, but they will be required to be submitted for review and approval prior to being installed. Site access for the site will be provided by 2 new commercial driveways off of East Clinton South Avenue, as well as some internal roadways that connect from the other parts of the park, just providing a little bit better circulation around the whole park. The westernmost driveway will be developed in conjunction with an access road connecting to the existing parking lot and baseball fields as phase 1. And then the easternmost driveway will be developed with the parking lot as part of phase 2. There's only one building anticipated right now on site, and that would be a restroom facility, and it will match kind of like the facilities that we have currently out at Missland Sports Park. The landscaping for the site will be focused mostly around the perimeter of the parking lot and throughout the parking lot. No landscaping plans have been submitted to date. However, detailed plans will have to be provided for final approval. And there's, although not depicted on the site plan, there will be a trash enclosure that will be required to be somewhere within the parking lot area or the facility at some point. We did send the project referral out to all adjacent landowners as required by law, soliciting comments and on the proposed project. All the comments and conditions of approval received during that time have been incorporated into the staff report that's in front of you tonight. So At this point, I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and be happy to entertain any questions from the commission.
You have questions?
Just a couple, Ken, just to get me educated. The land to the east and west, I believe to the east is park. Is to the west, what's the zoning on that?
To the west is actually regional commercial at this point, and to the east is residential.
Is it residential?
Yes.
Okay, well, tennis lovers would dig that area. And then Ken, just help me out right here. On the left, it looks like stormwater quality planter option or retention basin.
Yeah.
Could you just help me understand the necessity of that?
A necessity, so that'd be for the parking lot. Whenever the parking lot comes in, obviously the storm water has to go to a basin, some area. So it'd be probably more like a landscape basin that would be put in for all the drainage from the parking lot.
You've taken land that was permeable previously and now it's not. That water's gotta flow.
I was just wondering, because we have the soccer fields that are also a basin, but I imagine that's tied to our existing housing and needs of the area.
Yeah, just from the elevation standpoint, I mean, obviously the soccer fields closer to River Road are a basin area, but these upper fields wouldn't serve well for a drainage basin for that parking lot. So they would
Gotcha.
have to do one.
Thank you, guys.
So just to clarify, Ken, the access road, when we go through the first phase, potentially when the first 6 courts are built, that access road is the one that's marked on this diagram by the blue?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So but then eventually there'll be one on the opposite side of the property as well.
Yeah, so if you look at the top right-hand side of the diagram there and the kind of the purple hatched line around, so on the far right up the top, there's another driveway entrance there that'll lead into the parking lot.
And that'll be put in when the second set.
Yeah, phase 2 with the next, the restrooms and the 6 tennis courts and the parking lot will all come in. It's phase 2.
But there's still access to the courts from the existing access.
Yeah, so that access road is really meant to serve so people can get off of Clinton South Avenue and get over to the other parking lot that's existing currently by the baseball diamonds, just to provide some connectivity through there. Mhm.
Just out of curiosity, Ken, what is the funding source for this project?
The city's actually entered into an MOU with Love Tennis or Love Ripon to kind of jointly split some of the costs on this. So the city's looking at Parks and Rec funding for our portion of it, and the other would be donated.
What's the long-term financing of keeping the courts looking good and all the fencing and everything? Is that all on
It's
private,
like
public, or is it both?
it's all it would fall back to the city on that point. I think the MOU spells that out. The city would be maintaining it once it's built.
I think that's a good question in light of the issues that have been raised of the existing facility. You want to make sure that it is well taken care of. And I look forward to finding out what the plan for the community center courts will be. So that they can be well used by our community. Anybody else have a question for Director Zeidervart? Then representing the applicant today, do we have someone?
They want to speak or not? We got a couple here.
Good evening, Commission. So nice to be here. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ken Zeidervart, for your support. My name is Di Charisma. I reside at 1845 Riverview Circle here in Ripon. And quite a number of years ago, I became very frustrated with the community courts and they're falling apart. And I got really tired of complaining about it. So I told my husband, I'm going to start a foundation. I want to build some tennis courts. So I approached Ken and Kai Stevens here at the city to say, is this a possibility? Would the city be open to listening to this? And they said they had funds to redo the community courts. But thank you for saying that. I've heard that again and again and again and again. And I was tired of hearing myself complain about it. I'm just tired of it. Because there's a lot of people that love tennis here and a lot of pickleball people. And pickleball is the fastest growing sport. So pickleball can take over the community courts when they're resurfaced, and they need to be. Anyway, I started Love Love Ripon Tennis Foundation December 12th of 2021. And Melody is on my board. She's here tonight. She's the coach at Ripon Christian School of Tennis, and she's a very, very, very good tennis player, and she's passionate about tennis. And so since then, December 12th, 2021, I've been trying to raise funds and awareness about the courts and working with the city here to implement the courts, because these courts are for everyone in the community, all ages. You could literally die playing tennis. You could start playing as soon as you walk. You could start pushing the ball around with a racket, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, you can tell I have a real passion for tennis. So with the budget, and I'm going to turn it over to, this is our engineer, Adam Merrill, and he's worked with the city of Ripon, and he's worked on a number of different courts for other projects with other clients. And he's amazing, and we meet with Kevin Werner, the city manager, once a month to go over the details of the plan. But as you know, the biggest thing is this. You got to raise the money. And our budget right now for the 6 courts is just under $1 million. So our board is working real hard to raise half of that, approximately $500,000. We are halfway there, and I'm confident we will get there pretty quickly. So my question again would be back to the city. I know you have to use park and rec funds, but don't know how long that'll take for the city to raise the $500,000. But needless to say, we're very committed. Our board is very committed. We're passionate about tennis. You don't have to play super great, just have to love a passion to get outside. It's the only sport you could play during COVID, and pickleball, because you don't touch each other. You try not to. You only touch the ball. So anyway, it's just everyone can play, and you're outside, sunshine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The city's behind it. I appreciate the support. You can ask me any questions. If it's anything to do with the layout and engineering, this is the expert, Adam Merrill. He lives here in Ripon. He's also the owner of a very large engineering firm in Stockton. So I'll take any questions.
Anybody have a question?
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
How many players do you expect to have on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Oh, well, if I had a crystal ball, I could answer that question. There'll be planned out tournaments with our memorandum of understanding with the city, because during the weekends, as you know, the soccer is so popular. It's so very busy out there. But because we have the dedicated street to get into the tennis courts and the parking, we don't feel that'll be an issue for, say, if we had small tournaments. But the city, we're going to be very careful about picking. We have to have the city's approval to pick a tournament date on the weekend. That's when it's the busiest. During the week, play is not that busy, but I would like to increase the activity out there with children, maybe after school things, et cetera, et cetera. So I really can't, Jeff, answer that question, because I don't really, I mean, if you go certain times to our courts here, there might not be anybody on them. But as Melody could attest to, when she's got to take her team out there to practice and play after 3 o'clock, 3:30, all the courts are taken. Nobody in the city of Ripon can play on the courts. And there's all the parents there watching and all the kids playing on all the courts. But that's a time in the afternoon, late afternoon. So it just varies on what time of the day you're thinking, or weekend, or what event it might be.
Question then. So with this first phase, Ken, I believe you said the parking lot will not be developed with this first phase.
Correct. They'll be using the existing parking.
And so again, you're dependent upon fundraising to then build out the second phase, which would include the parking. So the second phase is going to be much more expensive, it sounds like, than the first. So you could just verify that this is true. We could be in a position where you have first phase built, and it could be quite a long period of time before second phase and parking is built.
That is true. That's correct, right, Adam? That is correct.
Thank you.
But if you take a look at the parking now that we have at the tennis courts, we don't really have parking, because the baseball people come and take up the 6, 7 spots there for parking. So then you got to park on the street in front of all the residents' houses. There is no parking. Well, and then there's parking close to the community center, but if there's an event there, then we fight, we conflict for
Sure,
parking.
I just came from there.
Yeah.
Before this meeting, so I know exactly what the parking's like
Yeah.
over there based on current experience.
So I have to say, I would say the most amount of people, if there's a tournament, that would be the most amount of people on a weekend for a tournament. And tournaments do run typically on Saturday and Sunday. It's a 2-day tournament. And that would be the most popular day, the busiest day. I play in a ladies interclub league, and we go out and play early in the mornings on Tuesdays and 9 o'clock, and nobody else is on the court but our local club teams, so there's not an issue. Also, too, we will schedule accordingly so that we don't have, a lot of conflicts with, if there's a tournament, it'll be posted so people know, just don't plan on showing up at this time. The courts are going to be taken from the tournament. And the city's allowing us to have, I believe it's 3 tournaments a year, maybe 4. So not a tournament every weekend.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I would say just in conjunction with that, I don't think parking out there is going to be as big of an issue as access. That's why I asked about getting into it from Clinton South, because the traffic is bad. But I mean, I've been there many times for soccer games because I've got all those grandkids. But and it's access that gets really busy. But I don't know that I've ever seen all the parking taken. So,
No.
I don't know.
And this is the thought that Kevin and Adam came up with, and Kenny too, when they picked the original site. We first wanted to be closer into the water area, the new water thing, and it's right next to a parking lot, and it's a big open field. But then the city said, well, we use that for parking for Almond Blossom. I'm like, well, that's like once a year, but we would be close right up to all that parking in that area. But then they came up with the idea, well, we could access, you can come in through Clinton South. You're not supposed to really come in through Clinton South now. It's just a dirt road to come in through Clinton South, You're supposed to come in on River Road. But with the tennis courts, we'll have access off Clinton South, which will be great. Come to a tennis event, you come down Clinton South and come in. You don't have to fight everybody in the soccer and the baseball.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have any engineering questions?
Do we need to speak with that? We're good.
I don't have any engineering questions, but I do have a question that kind of goes both ways here. What's the anticipated cost of the expansion or the future phase of this? And is the city 50% on that as well?
Yeah, so Kevin Werner, city administrator, was the one that entered into the MOU, and the council approved that. I don't know the funding sources or the percentages on that. That was something that was negotiated with the council. But Adam might have some numbers on the ultimate kind of estimated cost.
And is there even an estimated time frame on when that would be completed?
On the first phase or the second phase?
Second phase.
It depends on the money. Once again, the fundraising efforts, as you know, it's very challenging to raise the money. And even with the city, we'll be discussing what their time frame, what they think is to raise almost $500,000 for the project. Because I talked with Kevin about that, and I said, well, if it's going to take how long? I mean, I don't want to be dead before the courts are built, so I'll go out and I'll bring in the $1 million, and then Kevin said, then we'll start building the courts. City doesn't have the money.
Thank you.
Adam Merrill. I'm a civil engineer with Siegfried. So yes, the second phase, off the top of my head, I don't have my cost estimate with me, but I believe it was about double because of the 6 additional courts. But then the frontage road also would need to be built out on Clinton South to meet the city standard for what we need to do on our side of the road. So that's something in the future. The idea was to the group meeting decided it was best to get the project something started so that it gets momentum and then people use it and they're like, this is actually a really nice facility. And then as the parking needs grow out there, because as far as there's baseball, soccer, tennis possibly, could be, if you want to host that on a Saturday, that could be a great facility to have additional parking. Just because I know with my kids play out here, you'll get just people parking along the dirt roads and in that kind of next to that orchard. So it'd be nice to have in the future.
So just to add a little bit to that, Parks and Rec funds, those are raised through development, mostly residential development. So every residential lot that comes into town and develops out pays into a Parks and Rec fee that goes to Parks and Recreation. So I don't know if they've dedicated 100% of the funds coming in with residential development to the new tennis courts or if there's some priority type funding that's going on. I know they had some loans in the past that they've done for different expansions of the park. I don't know if those are 100% paid off yet or not. So that's where the funding really comes into play is upon development. Unfortunately or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it, there's not a whole lot of housing development going on right now. There's a project that's going to be starting up over off of North Ripon and Bosch. That's about 45 homes, and then Bethany Homes building 82 apartments. So those will kick in some money to the Parks and Rec fees, but that's really our only source of revenue for doing park improvements. So it's really dependent on development and when that comes.
Thank you, Ken. Is there anyone? Oh, Jim.
One last question, Di. So you've been working on this project for 3 years, is that correct? And started Love Love, which
Sure.
is a great name. Love
Well,
Love.
you know, that's what you say when you start to play the game of tennis. You say the score.
Right.
Love,
Yeah.
love.
I thought I was like, yeah, that was very creative. 3 years. So you started working and doing fundraising. Has it been full 3 years you've been doing fundraising?
Well, I started it as soon as I received my 501c3 notification from the federal government, which I had to pay them like $980 for a piece of paper, really,
Done
and
that.
fill out this many forms. Unfortunately, I used an attorney that was a good friend of mine, and I said, "We have no money. Can you just do it pro bono?" Which she did.
Okay.
And my binder, I didn't bring it, is this thick.
I saw the one you walked up with. That was
Oh, no,
pretty
this is only like a third of the other one.
Okay.
That other one is like this thick. It's like
Um,
it's really thick. So anyway, once I got approval in the beginning of 2022, then I started talking to the passionate tennis people and the people that live here in this area, because I said, look, before you die, you could have your name out here as a legacy, and your name could be out there if you sponsor a court or on a donation board or on a bench, and you could look at it and enjoy it. So I really started going after specifically one-on-one individuals to do that.
Perfect. And
Because again, with the pickleball, I want them to have space too. When they're there, we're kind of like, well, I can't play tennis, and we're playing tennis, and I'm going to play pickleball, you know?
just a real quick question. How
Yes.
did you develop your love for tennis?
Oh, well, as you know, as you get older and once you're out of college, what team sports can you play as an
Okay.
adult?
Okay.
You know, and so I didn't play tennis. I wish I did growing up, but I was in every other sport. I'm a baseball player at heart, but nobody wants to play baseball with me now.
Okay.
So I went to actually a fundraiser, and not for tennis, but for American Heart Association. There's this group of ladies there, and I'm like, why are you here together? You're from Ripon. They're like, we're the Ripon tennis team. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I go, I want to be on the tennis team. They're like, do you play? I go, no. But if I could hit a ball with a bat, I just felt like I could get a racket and practice that. So anyway, I started doing that, and I just got bit by the tennis bug. And you know, it just, again, you're outside, you're in the sunshine, you're moving around. It's very social, like pickleball. Pickleball's awesome. It's very social. It's so fun to play. Just, it's a little bit different than tennis. You know, it's different, but similar concept. So then, you know, funny story. I told my husband, you should play, you should play. He's like, no, I'm a football player. I'm like, well, are you playing football now? I don't see you playing football. Are you out playing football? I go, you're not golfing? He's like, nah, it's too boring. I go, why don't you just try it? Just try it. Why don't you just try it? And I said, all right, I'm going to pay a lesson for you. You go try it. And if you hate it, I'll never ask you again. And he went for an hour. He came home. He goes, I really love it. I love it. I go, great. Now he's playing more per week than I am.
Okay.
Because he gets invited to the country club courts that are not here. And so, yeah, with his, you know, guy friends. And, you know, he really enjoys it. So
As an adult,
you got to try it. If you don't, you try pickleball. You will love pickleball.
thanks, Di.
Thank you.
Anyway,
And
blah,
I
blah,
have a
blah, blah,
question
blah.
for
Thank-
you.
Oh, yes, sir.
Regarding the annual cost of maintaining the facility. I know you're raising money, which is great, to build it. That's awesome. And I think it's going to be a beautiful addition to Ripon. So thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
But what's the annual cost for
maintain
maintaining the
it?
property?
Well, and the
How much
memorandum,
of that will come from private versus public?
Oh, the memorandum of understanding puts it all onto the city of Ripon, because we're working so hard just to build the courts that we are not, as volunteer individuals, going to raise money to maintain them. So I specifically put that in the memorandum of understanding with the city, The city will maintain them, and they will maintain them to this degree that we put in there so that they don't fall apart. Because we're going to spend a lot of money making USTA approved courts. And also, too, I just met with USTA 2 weeks ago, and they're willing to throw in some money if we meet their requirements, which we will. They're willing to throw in up to 30,000. Well, I mean, that's better than nothing, but you know, it's not like going to take me to the 500,000. But the city will maintain the courts.
So Ken, how much is that a year? Or do we, I mean, what is it now with,
I don't,
the
that'd
commu-
be more of a Kai Stevens question, it's Parks and Rec.
okay,
And two, to be specific, we want them maintained well because I know the courts that we have now are literally earthquake cracks this big. You know, it's bad, 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 and bad. So
that's why I'm asking.
we have a priority to have them maintained by the city by washing them so many times, you know, rinsing them off to get the dirt off so many times a month. And really, it's low maintenance. It's tennis courts are extremely low maintenance. If you keep, you know, if you maintain them, you know, like that. Just and taking a look when some cracks come up, but they shouldn't for a long time because we have good dirt out there to build on and we're going to have a solid foundation. So they're going to be done right. So thank you for that question.
Thank you.
So as Di said, the concrete pavement, especially with the really good soils we have out here, this type of project, until you put in the parking lot and really need the maintenance of landscaping, it would be pretty minimal. It's not like the rest of Michelin where you have grass to cut, other areas to maintain on a weekly basis. Once you do it, the design life is typically 20 years on the pavement, so you don't really need to do much on it on a yearly basis.
Thank you. Do we have anyone that would like to speak in favor of the project? Anyone else? Seeing none, anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the project? No need for rebuttal then. Okay, I will close the public portion of the meeting and we can discuss it amongst ourselves. Questions for Ken, comments? Yeah.
Just commendation for Di, 3 years committed to develop a sporting facility for the community is a lot of time. And I
Yes.
appreciate the citizen willing to step up and do all of that.
Agreed.
I think it's great that you want to invest and you've raised money and you care so much about Ripon. So thank you for your willingness to invest in Ripon. My concern is with the overall budget that we have as a city, that we can do a better job of what we're not doing right now in the community center. When it comes to like you said, the giant cracks, and is that going to happen there? And then are we going to ignore it, or are we going to have funds to actually make it good? That's my concern.
And that falls on the responsibility of Parks and Recreation and their budget.
Yeah, it's not our purview for sure.
Right. Again, that is not in our job is to look at the project itself, the findings that have been presented to us by the different departments, and make sure that we are in alignment with those findings. And if we are, we typically move things forward. If we have objections based on these findings that are in the report from Ken's department, then we can raise objection and possibly say no to the project. But I'm looking at the findings and I find agreement with them at this point. Is there any other comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I will just say that I'm definitely in favor of it. I think it'll be good for our community. It'll be good for Ripon and for the whole sports complex that's out there. I think it'll be a positive thing. And maybe afterwards I can kind of talk to you guys a little bit about how slowly government works with giving their money to where it needs to be. But anyway, that's another subject. So based on the findings, I would like to recommend that we approve the major site plan permit SR 2424 for the Michelin Sports Park Tennis Complex based on the findings and subject to the conditions of the staff report, and adopt the negative declaration for the project.
Second.
Congratulations, you're moving forward, and thank you for all of your efforts. We appreciate it. I know, I concur, it will be a great addition to Michelin out there. I think it'll be a wonderful thing, so, thank you.
We have to wait for the courts to be built.
That's it.
We'll be there.
Very good. Do we have any reports, Ken?
Just a couple things. If you guys want to stick around a little bit after, I can go through a little bit of stuff with Kai stuff for you, just to give you a little direction there. We do have an item hopefully next month, we'll be considering that extension request for the battery project. They are still getting final information to us on that. They were actually doing what they call plume modeling. So if an incident were to occur, where's the plume end up, and so they are modeling that. When we get that final information, we should be able to conclude our staff report and get that in front of the commission so you guys can consider the extension requests for that project. They're anticipating having that here in the next week or so. Hopefully that gives us enough time to get staff report done and out to you guys in enough advance notice so you guys have time to look at it. This is a
That'd be
big
great.
project and a big decision. So we're hoping that that might hit the June meeting. They are pushing for that. We do have an abandonment, a street abandonment that'll be coming from the commission next meeting as well. It's a minor section of Maple Avenue. If for any history buffs in here, Deborah probably knows this, and maybe Stephen, but Maple Avenue used to not go all the way through.
Oh.
It used to stop by the bus barn, and there used to be a turnaround at the end of Maple Avenue. So there's actually extra right-of-way there that is part of Ripon Christian's kind of front lawn. So that's the area that we are abandoning. That was a condition of the greenhouse and maintenance facility. So they process through the abandonment process on that. And so that'll be in front of you guys to make a finding on that to report to City Council. And we do have one other project that's trying to get to the Planning Commission. It is a gas station and commercial center over on the corner of Arkway and Frontage Road. So still getting through the CEQA on that and the traffic analysis on that. As soon as that wraps up, we will get that out for review and in front of the commission, most likely July or August. And then we do have another smaller project at the south end of Acacia Avenue, industrial area. That'll be in front of the commission in July.
All right.
Very good, thank you. Do we hit? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Landscaping over by the freeway where they're building the storage area?
Yep.
They gonna be putting in tall landscaping, or do you know?
No, not. They have basically a bunch of landscaping that's kind of will keep people out of it, but that's something that we're keeping an eye on as far as anything with graffiti on that. And then one last item. Michael Winters is the new planning secretary. I think you guys all
Hey, Michael.
kind of wandered over there and introduced yourself. So Michael started last Monday. He's getting a lot of information this last week and today. So Michael's a Ripon High graduate, born and raised here in Ripon, and has a degree from San Diego State. So he'll be
Welcome, very good. Glad to have you. Any commissioners' reports? Seeing none, I think we are adjourned for this evening, and thank you all for coming. Hope to see you back next month.